compañero de mi vida, cuidado con esa zanja, no se le quiebra el pértigo y que se vuelve.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man with a flower in his mouth.
An avenue lined with trees, electric lights gleaming through the foliage. Among the houses to the left, a miserable all-night cafe with tables and chairs on the pavement. Faintly, from a distance, there comes the sound of a departing train. The man with the flower in his mouth is seated at one of the tables, silently observing the customer, who, at a neighboring table, is sipping a mint frappe through a straw.
Ah, so you've missed your train?
Yes. I got to the station and there it was, just pulling out.
You might have caught it by running.
This was Britain's first television play.
I suppose I might. It's absurd, I know. But if I hadn't been all cluttered up with all those packages, a dozen more or less, I'd have caught it. Why, it took me 3 minutes after I got out of my taxi to get my fingers through the strings of all those packages. 2 to every finger.
It was chosen because it had no action and only 3 characters.
I should have liked to have seen you.
Every time one character made way for another, the producer had to insert a checkered board to prevent the camera from being upset by the movement.
But you don't know what it's like to be on holiday in the country with a bunch of women.
I think I do. In fact, I do.
The play was broadcast on July the 14th, 1930. And to celebrate the event, the Manchester Guardian wrote its first review of television drama.
For not having a televisor of my own, I had to rely on the apparatus of a multiple store. This could only be seen by one person at a time. As there were over 100 waiting, and our time before the machine was limited, I arrived at the screen at the instant of fade-out.
Death. You understand? Cancer has put this flower in my mouth.
And it's Cameronian, closely followed by Orphan and Sandwich.
In 1931, Baird went to Epsom and achieved the world's first daylight broadcast.
And at the first, that is the order. Cameronian first, Orphan second, and Sandwich third.
The Daily Herald. The result astonished us all. We had found the stepping stone to a new era in which mechanical eyes will see for us great events as they happen and convey them to us in our homes.
On May the 15th, 1932, the BBC opened Broadcasting House.
National programme from London. Now you're going to hear the first performance of the new BBC Dance Orchestra, directed by Henry Hall. It's just the time for dancing. Tomorrow is today.
As Henry Hall swung the BBC into a new era of sound radio, down in the basement, struggling against internal opposition, a television studio was being prepared.
Although low-definition television is still feeling its way, it has such potentiality that the BBC is lending as much of its time and resources as is consistent with the normal demands of programs.
Television? Now, I'm the fellow who can tell you about television. I was in at the start, in 1800 and frozen to death. You see, I got this letter from the BBC, so I thought, naturally, it'll be another Monday night at 7 or John Sharman's Music Hall. Listen what it says. Dear Mr. Askew, A-S-K-E-W, can't spell my name right. We have much pleasure in offering you an engagement to appear on a BBC experimental television programme on Tuesday the 18th of August. Television. You will be offered a fee of 2 guineas. Will you please report to Broadcasting House at 10 o'clock in the morning so that we can arrange your makeup? Well, this is how it was, playmates. Black and white, you see, and a bit of blue down each side of the nose. Very sexy, yeah. But wait a minute. Wait till you see the suit. Ta-da! Arthur Askey is wearing the latest in tuxedos and also has a yellow shirt. On anybody else, this would look horrible. On me, it looks revolting. Anyway, that's it, playmates. Well, now, to the studio. Walk this way. If I could walk that way, I wouldn't need the talcum powder. Oh, crikey. I'd forgotten he looked like this. I remember now. I thought it was in the gents' loo. Anyone like a game of chess? Hey. Ah! It all comes back to me now. Now, this is what is known as the microphone, and over here we have photoelectric cells. I sound like Magnus Pike, don't I? Hey? Stand on what? I can't stand on this. Well, I do a lot of this, you see, a lot of... Oh, all right, Hitchcock. Have it your own way. Television. It'll never take on. What a load of rubbish this is. Wasting my time. Blooming vision. Cool. I'm getting spots before my very eyes.
The flying spot was a new Baird technique. Rather than flood the poor performer with light and pick up the image with spinning lenses, he reversed the process and scanned the subject with a small spot of light. The pianist was hidden behind light-proof curtains because any extra light in the studio would upset the photo cells.
Oh, what a glorious thing to be, a healthy grown-up busy bee, whiling away the passing hours, pinching all the pollen from the cold leaf flowers. I'd like to be a busy bee, being just as busy as a bee can be, flying round the garden, the streets never seen, taking back the honey to the dear old queen. Buzz, 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 honeybee, buzz, if you like, but don't sting me. Buzz, 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 honeybee, buzz, if you like, but don't sting me. Buzz. Pardon? What's that? Keep me arms in. Oh, good, isn't it marvellous? Oh, what a glorious thing to be, a healthy, grown-up, busy bee, making hay while is ripe.
The electricity from the photoelectric cells was reconverted by domestic televisors into quite an acceptable picture, considering it only had 30 lines.
Buzz, 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 honeybee, buzz, if you like the roads.
Tony Bridgewater, ex-Baird engineer, was one of the few BBC men who knew anything about television.
Silly bee song, isn't it, eh?
The flying spot was produced using a mirror drum scanner, like this, which fitted inside the transmitter. That's the transmitter, looking into the studio. This was now looking more like a camera. It could slide horizontally, and we could even swivel and tilt it a little. The performer had to wear contrasty clothes and makeup, otherwise we wouldn't get a clear picture. But now we could shoot head and shoulders, even full length. Though then you couldn't recognize faces, only see the action. So we went frequently back to close-up, and then we had to ask the performers not to move too much. Otherwise they'd go out of the picture.
Honeybee. I must buzz off. Buzz if you like, but don't sting me. Hey, there you go. Television. It'll never get anywhere.
We felt that to make the infant television get off to a good start, we had to be as enterprising as we possibly could.
Douglas Birkinshaw, first head of BBC television engineering.
There was an act appearing in the Victoria Palace, a performing sea lion, which our producer was very keen to have in the programme, even though it meant bringing it to the austere broadcasting house of those days. There was no means of transport which could readily be arranged, and so I, as the owner of a very old motor car, a 1923 Panhard open tourer, volunteered to go and fetch it. Well, I just concentrated on the driving. She was such a good passenger, you know. She sat in the back, laid her head on the back of my driving seat, her whiskers tickled the back of my neck, and she was perfectly behaved. We arrived at Broadcasting House without any trouble.